These instructions are only intended for professional garage door installers. Make sure you have the correct instructions for reference and that they are the latest version. These can be found on the B&D website at www.bnd.com.au. Note that all references are taken from inside looking out. Safety. Please ensure you have read and understand the safety aspects of installing the door. Checking the opening measurements. Check the height and width of the opening in several places. Then check the headroom measurement, ensuring there are no obstructions. Next, check the left and right side room. Then check the back room for any obstructions to the ceiling and walls. The structure must be checked to determine the size and type of substrate fasteners to be used. Refer to the installation instructions for guidance. Toolkit. To complete the installation, a professional toolkit including power tools is required, and additional equipment should include safety PPE equipment. A laser or water level is essential, as are spring tensioning bars or a mechanical spring winder. Parts checking. Make sure the door parts and the panel size is correct, and check the door model as this will affect the parts required. The label on the pack of panels will indicate this. The panel height can be checked by measuring one panel and multiplying by the number of panels. It should be 10 to 15 mils higher than the opening. Check the width, which should be 60 mil wider than the opening. The torsion shaft must be at least 300 mils longer than the panel width. There are 4 pieces of straight track, 2 long and 2 short. For larger doors, the horizontal track will have angled reinforcing attached. Make sure you have the correct springs by checking the requirements on the panel pack label. There could be from 1 to 4 springs. The reinforcing quantity will vary depending on door size and type. Check the panel pack label and figure 1.4.1 in the installation instructions for the quantity required. They must be the same length as the panels. There is also a pack of plastic safety end caps for the reinforcing. Jamb and lintel seals will only be supplied with PFI doors. Refer to page 8 and 9 of the instructions, as there will be more than one cardboard parts box. The base box will have black printing. PFT boxes have green printing and PFI red. Again, refer to the door label for the box part numbers and type required. Check and mark out the opening. Using a laser or water level, mark a level point on each side of the opening approximately 1 metre down from the lintel. This will be used as a datum point to ensure the door and tracks are installed level. Mark vertical lines based on the panel width at the datum points to indicate equal panel overlap on both sides. Using the detail at figure 1.6.1 and the chart 1.6.2 in the instructions, mark another vertical line at the appropriate distance from the first 2 vertical lines. This will depend on the amount of panel overlap and will be the vertical position for fixing the top track bracket, allowing for minor adjustment later. Mark another vertical line X mils from the first 2 vertical lines. Note, it is recommended if jamb seals are being fitted, they are cut 100 mils taller than the opening and fitted in position now, using figure 1.6.1 and 1.6.2 on page 10 as a guide. Assembling the vertical tracks. Select the appropriate parts. There are 2 top brackets, 2 polypropylene curves, large or small depending on the model and headroom type, 2 horizontal brackets with end joggle, 2 vertical tracks which are the shorter of the 4 tracks, and angle brackets. The quantity will depend on the door height. There should be 5/16 flat-headed bolts, 4 long and 8 short, plus 1/4 inch dome head bolts and whiz nuts. To mark the vertical track cut height, make sure they are marked door height less 170 mm for small curves and 190 mm for large curves. Do not cut until the floor level has been checked. Next, ensure the floor is level by measuring from the datum point to the floor. Any variance from each side should be applied to the previous cutting marks. Adjust the cutting marks to suit and cut the tracks to length, ensuring they are cut as a pair. Now assemble the tracks. The 4 longer 5/16 flathead bolts are for the 2 top slots in the top bracket and polypropylene curve, and are long enough to accommodate the horizontal brackets and the end bearing brackets, which will be fitted later. Ensure the joint between the vertical and polypropylene curve fits snugly and fasten with the shorter 5/16 bolts. The angled track brackets should be fitted evenly using the small dome bolts and whiz nuts. Before tightening all whiz nuts, take note of the E and F measurement at figure 2.1.2, as this measurement will differ between PFT and PFI models due to the weather seal. Both vertical track assemblies can now be installed based on the previous datum and vertical marks. Make sure top brackets are level with each other. It is recommended to firmly fit the top brackets using at least 3 substrate fasteners with washers to each bracket, allowing for sideways adjustment in the slots. Angled track brackets can be temporarily secured as some movement will be required when fitting the panels. Assembling the bottom panel. If you are installing a tapered panel or rear torsion spring system, please refer to the installation instructions as the assembly will differ. Select the bottom panel from the pack, the one with a weather seal and grey polypropylene blocks with protrusions. Place it face down on a suitably protected floor or trestles to prevent damage. Now gather the appropriate parts, which will differ depending on the door model. Remove the 4 pan head screws from each end style and discard. Next, trim the weather seal to length. Assemble the cable to the left and right hanger as shown here. Secure the left and right hangers to the bottom corners of the panel, ensuring 6 fixings are used to each. Insert a single wheel and axle into the grey block. Insert the hinge links to the top of the panel and secure with white pins. This process is the same for both PFT and PFI doors. It is important that the end of panel links have the pins fitted from the outside. Fit all other links and pins. Insert either the single PFT wheel and axle or the PFI twin wheel, smooth track wheel, and axle into the top hinge. If reinforcing is to be fitted, refer to the reinforcement chart on pages 7 and 17. Ensure there are 2 fixings to every style. Please note that the hinge links for Insul Shield doors differ to the PFT and PFI doors and are a split type link which does not have white pins to hold it in place. Take the male part and insert with the marked top section facing in towards you. Hook under the built-in hinge pin and click in place with an upward action, then swivel it back towards you. Fit the links to all other panels except the top panel. Either place the panels into the tracks as they are prepared or place carefully to one side until all are assembled. Installing the bottom panel. Place the panel in the opening and twist the tracks around the wheels or lower into the tracks from the top. Make sure it aligns at each side with the previous overlap marks. Ensure the panel is level by measuring from the datum point. Now swivel all hinge links down. The next panel can now be placed on top without inserting the links. To insert the links, start at one end or in the middle by lifting the panel enough to allow an end or the middle link to be inserted. Continue to lift the panel towards the end just enough to insert one link at a time. When all links are inserted, fit the white pins. They can be inserted from either direction. Insul Shield fixings are different as they have special screws instead of white pins. These are pushed into a small hole in the bottom of each style between the 2 pan head screws. When pushed as far as they will go, finish fixing by screwing home. Repeat this procedure for all panels except the top panel. Installing the top panel. For some installations, it is better to leave this procedure until the torsion assembly is in place. Now assemble the single wheel and axle into the metal top hanger with the white pin already inserted. If a PFI lintel seal is to be fitted, it should be cut to length and secured with self-drilling screws at 300 to 400 mm centres. Locate the wheel into the polypropylene curve. When all adjustments have been made, add an extra 2 self-drilling screws to each hanger, figure 2.6.2. Installing horizontal tracks. It is advisable to adjust the vertical tracks before this procedure. The tracks should be adjusted forward or backward to suit the application. For PFT doors, the panels should have a working clearance to prevent the panel scraping on the structure, and for PFI doors, fitted so that the seals just lightly touch on the panels. Plumb the vertical tracks and at the same time ensure the side clearance is correct and refer to page 10. Ensure the fixing points in the ceiling are strong enough to take the weight of the door. They should be placed approximately 3/4 of the door's height back from the lintel. If a second sealing point is required, it should be placed between the lintel and the 3/4 mark. The horizontal tracks should always be cut 350 mm longer than the fully open door and have the black stops fitted at the end. An adjustable prop is ideal for this procedure. Next, attach the polypropylene curve, ensuring the alignment is good and the correct flat-headed 5/16 bolts and whiz nuts are used. Ensure a 1/4 inch dome head bolt, whiz nut and washer is fitted where the joggle in the top bracket attaches to the horizontal track. Manufacture ceiling droppers from suitable perforated angle, ensuring they are securely attached to the fixing points and have washers under the fixing heads. Make sure the track is attached to the droppers with suitably sized, dome-headed bolts, nuts and washers. For doors over 2280 and 5000mm and all Insul Shield doors over 2400 and 3000mm, an intermediate fixing point is required. Ensure the horizontal tracks are level, parallel with each other and diagonally correct. When the door is fully installed, these may require final adjustment. Now fit the pull cord or D-handle to the appropriate position and ensure all warning labels are fitted. Panel reinforcing. If not already fitted, refer to page 7 for the correct quantity, ensuring it is placed correctly and 2 fasteners are used to each style. The top panel reinforcing should be fitted as high as possible to strengthen the panel. If an opener or windows are fitted, refer to figure 2.7.2. Make sure the black plastic protective end caps are fitted to the end of all reinforcing. Standard spring counterbalance system. Please refer to page 18 on how to determine the left and right hand of cable drums and springs. Take special note of doors fitted with combo spring anchor brackets as the position differs to that shown. Standard spring counterbalance assembly. For all alternative spring assemblies, please refer to the installation instructions. First, gather the items required to assemble the torsion spring assembly. Next, cut the torsion shaft at least 300mm longer than the door width and deburr the ends. Place it on the floor or on suitable trestles. PFT assemblies with one spring are assembled by first sliding the spring anchor bracket to the centre of the torsion shaft. Now slide the shaft collar with grub screw onto the shaft against the flange side of the anchor bracket bearing. Slide the spring onto the shaft, ensuring it is the correct hand. Slide the cable drums onto each end with the grub screws facing the centre. Place 2 25mm washers onto each end, followed by the bearing brackets which should have the bearing flange facing the cable drum and washers. For PFI doors, the assembly differs, as the spring anchor bracket is only required to support the torsion shaft on doors wider than 3 metres. The end bearing brackets are replaced with spring combo brackets to which the springs are attached. This removes the need for solid or unknown lintel fixing points for doors with up to 2 springs. In this case, the spring hand is exchanged left to right and right to left, which means the spring flanges face outwards towards the ends of the torsion shaft, not the centre. You'll see the combo bracket comes with one bearing fitted and one loose. Place the assembly into position onto the top track brackets. Ensure it will not slip off accidentally. Push it as far forward as possible and fit 5/16 bolts and nuts. If the centre bracket has been used, raise the torsion assembly to level and secure it in position. Connect one cable to the cable drum. There should be no more than about 1 turn of cable around the drum. Tighten both grub screws using a 15cm socket spanner. Now clamp the torsion shaft into a stable position with vice grips and place adequate protection for finished surfaces. Apply 1 turn of tension in an upward direction to one spring and tighten one grub screw onto the torsion shaft using a 15cm socket or spanner. Fit the second cable to the drum and tighten onto the torsion shaft. Apply the tension indicated on the previously removed label to each spring, figure 2.11.2. This is calculated by counting the turns. Only tighten one grub screw onto the torsion shaft at this time and lubricate both springs liberally. Double check all fixings are in place and tightened. Slowly open the door. Make sure it is sitting correctly in the vertical and horizontal tracks. Adjust the tracks if necessary before proceeding to give the correct operating clearances. If satisfied with the operation, tighten all the cable drum and spring grub screws using a 15cm socket wrench. Ensure all clearances are correct and all fasteners are fitted. Check that any warning labels and documents are attached to the door or handed over and any hand marks are wiped clean. Finally, complete the B&D self-audit form. For customer handover, refer to the B&D customer handover video. You have been watching a B&D training presentation.